Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us on the CCA California Podcast. Good to be with you another week. I've got my good friend, the wonderful Miss Tonie Bangos. Tonie, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing well. I'm really excited for today's little podcast we have going on.
I know. We've been talking about this one for a long time. I know, you'll probably be a little embarrassed, but you totally fangirl over this boat, this special guest. So it'll be good.
I am a total fangirl. I've been following these guys for quite a while, since before I was in university. So
awesome. Well, before we get started, make sure to go follow us on Instagram at CCA California. Make sure to go follow us, follow the Star Tournament page at CCA Cal Star. And without further ado, we've got Jake Russell and Peter Gottfredson from the RV Pilar. Peter, Jake, welcome to the podcast, guys.
Hey, thanks a lot for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake, before we get started, I don't know if this is probably fair game or what, but I had no idea that you had a singing and acting career before fishing.
I did. I was almost a D-lister. I probed the outskirts there of the D-list, but I did have a little run. It's kind of, I think all of us in California have a little Hollywood in us anyway, right?
Yeah, when you're born and raised in California, you kind of have to, at least some kind of connection to that.
Yeah, I agree. I had a long boat building career here, and there was a point in time where I cut my thumb off on the table saw. I hate to say that, but and then I had to drive to Scripps, and fortunately there was a hand specialist there and sewed my thumb back on. Everything was great. But after 30 years, I started to question myself a little bit about, working with equipment and realizing, I hadn't had many accidents. And, fortunately, I still have all 10 of my fingers. But, I said, you know what, I'm going to step back a little bit. And I had done some singing and stuff when I was in school. And, I ended up getting I had an agent here in San Diego and, got on some movies, got on some commercials, and ended up doing a bunch of voiceover and some commercial work and working up at Studio B there in Kearny Mesa, working at the Canal Studio for a while. And I had a good little run there for a while.
Wow. Anything that we might recognize?
I was on the, I believe it was the second season of Silk Stockings for a year. I was in the bullpen, so I would be a forensic, I'd be a custodian, just anything, to make money. I did a lot of car ads for car dealerships in Kearny Mesa. I kind of came up with, Carland, Kearny Mesa. And getting a lot of work doing voiceover, selling cars and stuff. So, I just did whatever I could. I've been on Murder, She Wrote. We had, once some of the studios left Hollywood and came to San Diego, there was work here for a lot of guys. I got on My Blue Heaven with Steve Martin and Rick Moranis, and just a lot of little stuff. Never really made it big. Never, everybody's trying to get their SAG card and stuff, and it's pretty competitive. And fortunately, about that time, I think I got another boat building job and went back and started building some more boats.
Wow, that's impressive. That's cool, man. Well, let's kind of get started in the background first. I know you have a very interesting one. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, for sure. I had a great life here in San Diego. I grew up in La Jolla and Pacific Beach. I had my grandparents, half my family from Arizona were Zonies and came over to California. My grandfather was the second real estate broker in Pacific Beach, and would do all kinds of risky things, but thank God they were all made sense because here we are 3 generations later, and still have a family business in Pacific Beach and real estate based, and so have a long presence here. Had 2 sets of grandparents here. Had 1 set of grandparents at De Anza Trailer Park on Mission Bay in the Back Bay, and I had another set and grew up there next to the Catamaran at the other end of Mission Bay, and so I was all over Mission Bay as a kid and SeaWorld, and really must have been over the Ingram Street Bridge a million times, over my life, and ended up my sets of my grandparents ended up, learning how to marlin fish, and became members at the Marlin Club, and that kind of was my entry in to sport fishing. My dad was just an amazing waterman. Again, kind of grew up in La Jolla. Both my parents went to La Jolla High. I ended up going to La Jolla High. There's a real tradition there, just like in Point Loma, of really good watermen, really good surfers, great divers. I was there during all the interesting time as a kid in the 70s with all the inshore gill nets, and there's a lot of commercial fishermen in La Jolla, a lot of guys launching their skiffs at La Jolla shores, so I kind of was involved in around all of that, and that's kind of how I started. I ended up, leaving high school, graduating, and I think I went to Mesa for a couple of years, and I ended up in a boat building school in Maine, which is kind of really what I wanted to do. I had a 4-year ride from the National Endowment, paid for my education, and I was supposed to fix historic landmarks anywhere in the country, and I kind of did. I came back here to San Diego. I was in my early 20s. I started building boats. I built a tall ship for the state of California, the Californian, down on Spanish Landing. I built a yacht for the owner of the Hotel Del at the time, a swath boat, big twin-hulled catamaran boat. Several other yachts, got into the America's Cups in San Diego, worked both of those, got into processing carbon fiber, just everything you can imagine in a boat building career. I got the opportunity to do it here and to do it at home, and in San Diego, was important to me, kind of bring my skills back from the East Coast that I had. And I had a great career. That's kind of my background, really.
Wow, that's very cool. So you started here and whenever you think of PB, I'm sure you probably get this a lot, but whenever you think of PB, it's usually everyone does a tenure in PB, living in there, especially when you're in college. That's typically. But to actually hear from you, a native of that area, it's pretty unique.
Well, it's no different for us either, too. At 18, I was out of the house, and you couldn't afford to live in La Jolla. I went right back to PB, and I remember even later in life, I probably had 2 or 3 different apartments in PB at different times, and it is what it is. It's changed a little bit, but still obviously a popular area. Like I say, I spent most of my life in La Jolla at Wind and Sea Beach and Sea Lane and that area, and they're just a beautiful coastline, and that's what we did. We stayed on the beach, we played on the beach, we partied on the beach, we surfed, we dove, we fished. Everything we did was pretty much beach related, and just later I got into boats, and I think in my 20s I got my captain's license. I started working for a guy over at Marina Cortez on B-Dock, and I took a couple boats south and worked on a big Hatteras he had, and kind of realized that really wasn't for me, but I did like coming south, and over time I ended up jumping ship, and I had some family friends down here in Los Cabos area, and I got to basically house sit for them, and that kind of got me in. And next thing you know, I had a carpentry business here with a friend, and we had 20 guys. Then in 10 years, where there was about 200 guys. Kind of didn't get to surf and dive and fish as much as I thought, but I thought, boy, if I ever come back, I'm gonna enjoy it. So now that's kind of brings me to where I am now, and it's kind of our off season, to be down here during the winter, but we're Peter and I were just talking the other day about how we can incorporate it more into what we're trying to accomplish, and so that's kind of our next step. But it's awesome to be able to reach out and spread your wings, get a little bit further, expand your zone, and that's kind of what we're doing here. And we've been well received, and just can't be any happier with the way things have been going down here for us. Just I thank God every day that I'm alive down here. It's just so beautiful. Fishing is so good, And then when we get some work up there here in another few weeks, we'll be heading back up. And so we're excited now. We have some work up there, so we're excited to get back to San Diego.
Nice. So you guys are in Cabo right now?
We are. I'm sitting here in San Jose del Cabo on the boat right now.
Oh man, I'm envious. What's the typical year look like for you guys? You know, what percentage of the time are you down there in Cabo, and when do you start moving? I know you just said in a couple of weeks you start moving up here, but where does that divide start happening?
You know, it's basically a seasonal thing for us. I come down for the tournaments in October, so right at the end of hurricane season there, just a little bit before, we'll come down and we'll spend the entire winter down here. And the idea was we'd come down and see how many striped marlin we can tag, and along with all the other fishing that we're doing, and then as soon as spring starts to roll around, as soon as that weather track starts to calm down a little bit up there from the north, then we'll come back up, and that's kind of our typical schedule right now. Yeah.
Nice. Well, we're going to dive into your beautiful boat and beautiful platform. But Jake, I think we met a couple years ago when you were still, when you were the president of the Marlin Club. I know that place, as legendary as it is, has a special place in your heart.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, there's a real family connection there. To me, it's like I said, it's a little sentimental for me because my grandfather, like I said, this incredible guy, came from Arizona. He was a Democratic delegate in Phoenix. He survived a plane crash in the 40s. Came across to San Diego. Tried to become a real estate broker, was selling cars, anything he could do. And then to get into marlin fishing, um, was just an amazing thing. The sad thing for me is he died when I was 3. So I kind of been chasing him my whole life. And lo and behold, at the Marlin Club, there's more history there on him than I have, at home. And that's why it's important to me. He, was a big part of why I do what I do now. He was, brought the first billfish into Mission Bay. It really tried to, develop Pacific Beach into a tourist destination, and he helped do it. So that's really interesting. I think kind of one of the really cool things was I got a lot of this since he died early from my grandmother. Would explain to me how they worked and what happened and how they would fish. And I have pictures of her sewing the wings, bridling the wings on a flying fish, and I mean, just classic pictures, black and white. Like, God, that's really cool. And I thought, here we go, 40 years, 50, 60 years later, and we're doing the same thing all over again. I'd have never thought that, I never thought that would have happened. And I went, wow, that is really neat, and again, there was a guy, Frank Nassau, at the Marlin Club, who's part of the Portuguese community down there, and just super knowledgeable. And he taught my grandparents, who basically were zonies, how to marlin fish. And they went on to, both my grandparents, to work at the club, to win every trophy they could. They had the most marlin, the biggest marlin, the most released marlin, and stuff like that. So that kind of got me involved, and I met a couple guys that were still real active in the club, like Bob Woodard Jr., and they encouraged me to get more involved and help support me become president. That led me to basically to you and Wade. And I saw Wayne at fishing show at Del Mar, and or no, where did I see him? Oh, I saw him at the fundraiser at Hubs, and I go, God, this guy is incredible. I mean, I could listen to him for hours. He was so well organized. I went, God, this guy really is on it. So I got him to come and talk at the club, and then that led me to you. And I just wanted to bring the two, CCA and the Marlin Club, together, and hopefully, that's kind of how all the fishing clubs should be, is involved with CCA, and both
for sure.
together So that's kind of what led us together and brought us together, and there again, it's a fishing club, so what couldn't be any better, perfect match, and yeah.
Exactly. It's a natural fit, which is unbelievable. Well, let's get to the good stuff. Your magnificent vessel. I know I've seen plenty of video and images, and it's all over online. And you guys do a really good job with content, which we'll get into here in a couple minutes. But tell us about your boat, man. It's absolutely unbelievable. But tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, for sure. I got to thank Peter for the content for sure, because that was kind of in the beginning part of my strategy. I got Peter to start helping me, and Peter didn't wasn't from this realm, and that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted something that was a little bit different, and Peter's helped provide that. And as far as the boat goes, again, it's kind of a full circle thing for me. I was in Maine for 4 years. I had looked at every Maine lobster boat there was. You really fall in love with certain types of boats, and I thought, God, those boats are beautiful. Those Downey's boats are so great. That would be great to have one on the West Coast. And I always dreamed of, having one. And there again, here we are, so many years later, and an opportunity came along, and I said, you know what, I'm going to build that boat. And I happened to know Steve at Westmac, and was able to fit into his schedule. There was an opening. You can't even get in now to get a boat built. It's funny, the popularity of the Pilar has really boosted their business. I've had several people contact me that are essentially trying to build the same boat or something similar, and they're all excited. And that was kind of the other thing, was to put a West Coast spin on the Down East boat. And
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't really see that kind of platform out here on the West Coast very often, and it's interesting because you're exactly right, to where it's a West Coast spin on that classic commercial boat out east.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the principal reason is just the style of the hull. Even though this boat is as a chine, it's a single screw. That's kind of the big difference between this and, say, a game boat, or any pretty much West Coast boat. And there was a time, again, when back in my grandfather's day, you had two motors because you knew one was going to fail at some point. So it was, the maneuverability was kind of just an added bonus, but it was really because the reliability of motors wasn't there. But we have a 1400 horsepower MAN diesel 12 cylinder. MAN's been around for over 120 years, building locomotive engines and stuff in Germany, and just amazing engineers and technology. And these motors are made to run without stopping, around the equator, without service. So the reliability factor has changed a lot in the motor. So I started thinking, if I just had one motor, I would save half the maintenance right there. And as long as I had the right design and I could get a good turn of speed, and I said, there's some sacrifice, but at the same time, I think, God, I only have one oil change. I only have one motor to service. I only have one transmission to service. And, we haven't really suffered much from the maneuverability. We've got a bow thruster. So, and we have a big rudder. The way these Maine lobster boats are, they have a keel, they have a shoe underneath the prop, right? That connects to the rudder. So, your prop is protected by the shoe, and they track really well. The boat, it trolls really well. That was kind of another idea. But again, from my grandfather and my grandmother, I learned they use the boat as the lure, not the fishing lures. They're the ones that kind of taught me it's the boat that's the lure. So, having something that has a little bit different acoustic signature with the single man versus, let's say every other Viking that's out here, or something that they're used to hearing or listening to. We really take it, the next degree. We paint the bottom black, so there's more contrast for the fish looking up. We have fish painted on the bottom of the boat. Just anything we can do to attract the fish to the boat, and then hopefully they see the lures after that, and that's how that works. So yeah, it's just a beautiful boat. It is super economical. We burn way less than a gallon at troll speed, so we'll go at 8 knots and only burn 6 gallons an hour. So
Oh my God.
that's kind of the reason right there. The motor will shut cylinders down if it doesn't need them. It hasn't skipped a beat since we've had it in the boat. It's just run great. And yeah, everybody loves the style of the boat. I think that was the other thing obviously I kind of wanted to draw attention to the boat. So this was a good way to do it.
Wow. Well, it's not that old, right? It's only been at least a handful of years, maybe.
That's right. We built the boat in 2018. Um,
Okay.
and so and it's solid glass. It has foam core in the sides. Everything topside is cored. There's not a stick of wood, anywhere in the structure of the boat. Everything's glass. The deck beams are glass. Everything's something that can't rot. The only wood we have is we have some Maine cherry, to trim out the drawers and stuff on the inside. But and it's beautiful. But everything is gel coated. I mean, these guys in Maine, they do know how to build boats, and that's why I went back there. There's some master builders back there. They've been doing it for generations, and some of these designs have been there for several generations. But Steve at Westmac kind of modernized the Maine lobster boat with his design, and this Super 46, which is what we have, is a couple feet wider than your normal 46-foot boat. So normal 46-foot boat might be, 14 and a half feet, something like that. We're 17 feet wide. So,
Wow.
yeah, huge platform, very stable. We have all the bells and whistles. We got a gyro. We've got sonar. We've got a little bit of everything on the boat. So yeah, it's been a good ride, and so far everything's working good. And I think for what we're trying to do, we're just kind of hitting our stride right now for helping, for example, CCA or some of these other groups we're trying to work with, like Hubs and the Walter Monk Foundation, and it's all kind of coming together now. So we're really excited about this year.
I was just about to ask. So, more importantly, you're actually using the RV Pilar as, obviously a research vessel, but also as a tool for all these other organizations, CCA included in that, for, the purposes of education and conservation, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's kind of a landmark. It's easy to spot. It's always easy to you know sell something if you've got something. So we're hoping we can help CCA by having the boat and having that attachment that people can put with whatever the issue or the thought may be that we're working together on. More than likely, our rights to fish in California, stuff like that. So we're more than happy to put a face on that. And the Pilar is a perfect boat to do it. Again, it's so unique that there's no mistaking, the boat when you see it. And again, what our message is, and CCA is a big part, of that message.
One thing that we talked before we kicked it on here was something that's near and dear to your heart is marlin tagging. Tell us a little bit about that and what all goes into that and how basically that gets accomplished and why we need to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Our goal, we kind of do things a little bit differently here. I think, if people tell me, I should have done things differently, but it's not really my style. I kind of always done things a little bit differently, and so we built the boat. We really wanted to tag a lot of the bluefin and stuff that were here, and hopefully we get that opportunity to work with that. But the satellite tagging, we really need to do more and more of that. There's a bunch of people, some of them, I support, that almost think, you should have a tag in everything in the ocean. I mean, just to know what's what, for example, whale schools, tuna schools, there should be better ways to, keep track of these fish as they travel, on their migratory tracks around. And that was kind of our interest, was starting that. And then working with Billfish Foundation, just with the spaghetti tags. There's still a lot of information that can be gained, even though it's not a PSAT tag. So we're helping them and trying to show that, you can have just as much fun catching these marlin and not taking them. If you want to take one, that's fine. I have no real issue with that. I would question, the quality of, the meat, but, I've never been able to cook it worth a darn, so, I'm not a big fan of it, but it's awfully fun to catch them and let them go. So the tagging thing was kind of went with that. I don't know. We're up to somewhere 50 or 60 marlin we've tagged, on the boat, this last year. And, it's just nice to get the hook out, revive them, let them go, fill out a tag form, and enter it into the database, which is obviously what this is all about. And then obviously what people want to figure out is where these fish spawn. Can we lay off that area for fishing during that period, get commercial boats out of there, and let these fish do what they would naturally do, protect them a little bit, and they could reproduce without any fishing pressure. And that's kind of the main crux of it. But yeah, it's fun to do. That's really kind of what got me into it. And now when I take people out who've never done it, they get all excited when it comes. I go, here, you want to get the tag? Yeah, I'll put the tag. Everybody gets excited. So it is fun, and there's no mess,
Yeah.
So it's been a great experience. You learn more about the fish every time we tag and release one. We learn a little bit more, and obviously we're trying to be as safe and careful with the fish as we can. And I don't think we've had a bad release yet. This pretty much everything has been a hook out release. A few of the circle hooks we use, they don't come out, but other than that, the fish have all been in really good shape. We have a fighting chair in the back of the boat, which we don't really need it for striper fishing, but if you jump in the chair, you'll get the fish to the boat in 10 minutes or less and be done with it. So we do use the chair and get the fight over and release them. We'll get 2 or 3 a day, just sometimes in our regular fishing for Dorado and tuna and everything else. So yeah, it's been great. And again, I'm trying to tag 100 of them. So anybody that's interested can help support us in our efforts to get 100 tags in for the Billfish Foundation. And again, if we can get some more PSAT tags and get the money to do that, that's something that, we should all be interested in and should all do for just those reasons I described, of trying to protect these fish when they reproduce.
PSAT tags are not cheap. I mean, I've heard as upwards of, I think, maybe $6,000 to $10,000 per tag or whatnot. But I mean, they're super beneficial for not only us to collect data but also the fish as well. What all goes into that? Do you have to go to an organization that sells them, and how do you partner and work with other organizations to get you tags and all that stuff for the species?
I think the first thing is that depending on where you're going, the first thing everybody wants is to know that you're capable of deploying the tag properly, because of what you just said. They're so expensive, and so again, trying to get these spaghetti tags in and working on our form and stuff, that's just part of it for us, so that when we get the opportunity to do the PSAT tags, we're a little better versed in our program for getting fish to the boat and releasing them safely, stuff like that. But it would be interesting. I'd like to see the technology improve. Those tags are all kind of made by hand. It would be cool if Elon Musk or somebody got involved and maybe there's a Mylar tag or something that they could use, that could be read through Starlink. And again, we could keep track of these schools, even the whale schools and stuff that are in the shipping channels and different things for different reasons. But I think over time you're going to see that. You're going to see people, countries trying to, tag these fish, and some are going to try to claim them as their own. So, it will get to that point at some point where there are more tags and things. But yeah, those PSAT tags are expensive. They provide an awful lot of information. the way they interface it with the GPS data of the fishing fleets. It's really, really cool. They can see these fish, when they're reproducing at the equator, and they'll see the commercial fleet there at the same time and go, no, okay, we've got to go back and tell these guys they have to stay out of this area. And that's kind of on a bigger scale how some of this works with those PSAT tags. Is they get such good data, they can use it with the GPS data for the shipping, the fishing boats, and try to keep them out of these areas where the fish are typically spawn.
So of those 50 something stripers that you guys tagged last season, how long do those tags stay in the fish? Because they're pop-up tags, right? So
These are all spaghetti tags, the ones we're putting in for the Billfish Foundation here in
gotcha.
Los Cabos. So they'll stay with the fish. The idea is somebody will recapture and either leave the tag or put another tag in, and take some notes on the size of the fish and where it was captured, and there's something that can be gained there over time with all that data. But it's important because it takes years and years of data to get the to make it justified. So science.
In theory, could if with a spaghetti tag staying with the fish and all that stuff, and with us being conservation minded anglers, more so at least, in theory you can have multiple points of contact with the same spaghetti tag, right?
Oh,
If people are
absolutely. Yeah, they do as well too. Sometimes they'll release fish here in the Los Cabos area, and the fish will swim south and will end up in Mazatlan, somewhere down there, and they'll guys will go, hey, I got one out, with a tag already in it, and they'll take the information from the tag number. There's a phone number on the tag as well, and they can either say, I took the fish and here's the tag, or you know what, we re-released it, and here was the estimated size and length, weight and length, and the area that we caught it in, and with that and the information we send when the tag goes in, they can start to build a little profile of of the striped marlin here, and where they go, and that's really what it's all about. Where do they go? And it's funny, with all the science we still have it. There's people they still don't know. There's still some conjecture about exactly where these fish go, and if they cross the Pacific, or they just resident fish that go from here and kind of bounce from north to south. But there's a lot of evidence that shows these striped marlin travel all the way over to the Sea of Japan, across from Hawaii and across the Pacific Ocean. They found tags, all the way over, on the coast of Australia, that they've put in Hawaii. So, and if you look at a map and you kind of look at Australia and Hawaii, and you draw a line towards the west coast, it kind of ends up around Mag Bay. So kind of interesting. You're like, huh, I wonder if there's a relationship between those points. But obviously, that's kind of the focal point here now in this Eastern Pacific, is Magdalena Bay for the stripers. There seems to be, a lot of them there. And nobody really knows exactly why, so
in
lots
your
of.
mind, Jake, why is it so important to do all of this? Why is it so important to put so much emphasis and so much time and effort into tagging a whole bunch of billfish, using your vessel as basically what it is, a research vessel, and dedicating a huge chunk of your resources towards conservation?
Well, I just, like I say, as a kid, spending a lot of time on the water, getting the opportunity to go out on the half day boats at Mission Bay, kind of working my way up, getting my license, building boats, getting my own boat. Um, you can still have fun. You can still catch fish, and this is for everyone, really. And you can still give back. And I think that's kind of the point. And if you do give back, it will come back to you tenfold. So really, that's kind of our inspiration. We think, in a lot of ways, I think a certain charity aspect helps your luck. You know, it can't, you can't help but think that, right? I mean, um, so that always, that's one thing that's always on our mind is what can we do to help, and how will it help us? And again, it's more of a payback. I think I'd rather see. I think everybody could do that if they just realized, what they would get back. It will come back to you, tenfold. Just some charity, and it could come in many different forms.
Yeah, I totally agree, and honestly, it's the right thing to do too. I mean, we've always been taught as anglers, conservation is important, and we have to continue to get back towards the industry, towards fishing in general, the species, all that stuff. And you guys are doing a great job at it.
I think we're trying. I think, as you guys know, we're in a lot of ways we're in the fight of our life. It's when I was younger and I watched Bill Poole and a lot of these guys, work with SAC and the uh, ACAT or whatever it was at the time. I thought, boy, this is great. These guys are going to fix this, and then we'll never have any more fishing issues again. I was probably in my late 20s or something when they were always, working on quotas and trying to get permission to fish and stuff. And the reality is, it just keeps going, and it's actually probably gotten, a little more intense and a little bit worse, and a lot more to jump through. But obviously, our rights are, at stake here. Our rights to access, and all we're trying to do is the right thing. I think fishermen get painted in a bad light sometimes. I think sometimes we're our own worst enemy. I'm hoping that a lot of the kids that follow us and stuff, we try to be as straightforward, as wholesome as we possibly can. But um, y- you know, uh, uh, yeah, that's basically it. We're trying to give back, and there's education. There's a lot of things involved. I think the young fisherman, what I was going to say is, I hope that they respect the resource more, and not disrespect it, and don't, some of the things they say after they catch a bunch of fish, we stacked them, we whacked them, all the other things you could throw in there that aren't really nice things to say. That's not being respectful for the resource. I'd rather see everyone say, you know what, I'm so thankful I caught this fish. I feel so fortunate, to be out here angling, and to catch this and be able to take it home and enjoy it for dinner, and I'd rather see a little more of that. I have a friend in Montana. He told me that, they make kids take a hunter appreciation course, where they have to learn to appreciate the wildlife before they give them permission to hunt.
Hmm.
And we almost need something like that in California.
Yeah.
Um, we talked about that because we both fish in California, but that's, I'm hoping we can do that. We're trying to be educational, or there's a lot of different things we're trying to appeal to a large cross section of people. Some people that may not necessarily be fishermen. At the same time, guys that do fish, we want to have something for them too. So that's our platform. We're just trying to show everybody, look, if everybody was a little more conscientious, maybe our rights wouldn't uh, be taken away. Maybe we could be, maybe we can rally together and find a way to, take our money and for our fishing licenses, and make our voices heard, and try to protect what we have and not lose it, and that's kind of what we're there for right now.
That's interesting. A species appreciation course. That would be cool. I'd take that course.
I would
Would you?
too. I think it's great. Like I said, I work with a lot of the young kids, and some of the way they talk about a day catching tuna, it's like, I mean, they sound like they're, Scarface or something. Like, you guys really like this? Why do you talk about it like it? Doesn't sound like you appreciate it, and I think a lot of those words can be used against us, at the end of the day, by those who don't like fishermen and want to say, just look how they talk about it.
Yeah.
They're dropping f bombs. They're doing this, saying that these aren't people that appreciate the resource. They just want to go kill a fish. So we need to, kind of change that mentality and show how much we really appreciate it. And every fish is is a treasure and shouldn't be wasted. And that's again another thing Peter and I were talking about the other day, is coming up with a way to take some of this extra tuna. I'm sure a lot of it is going to waste, some of this bluefin, and get it to the homeless, get it to Father Joe or someone, and see if we can, even feed some homeless with some extra tuna, because I know some of it's going to waste. I catch one and I have trouble giving it away and eating it all. They're so big. Um, so it'd be interesting to come up with something, just again, something that would cast us in a little better light and show that we do care and we care about our community, and bring fishermen together rather than, separate us apart. Because at some point we are going to have to all come together and fight for our right to access and our right to fish for the species that we want to fish for.
Yep, especially in a state like California.
And you know what, Chris, the unfortunate thing is a lot of times people don't rally until it's the last second when they realize, oh, this is actually happening. Now we need to have, that support. Whereas that support and that rallying should be continuous. It should be ongoing. It's not
automatic.
Yeah, it should be automatic.
It's hard. It's hard when you're always on defense.
Yeah.
There's just so many things. That's what just surprised me about Wayne, is there's just so many things thrown at us, and it's like being a juggler. You've got to, balance. Okay, we've got to respond to this. We've got to notify everybody about that. We've got to write letters. We need to protect this, or we're going to have to sacrifice. We're just going to have to, cut bait and go with whatever plan B is, and everybody's in agreement. That's all we got. So it's sad having to be kind of reactionary and on defense all the time, especially when we have so much economic power in the state. It's obviously a lot of people, state employees, that are there because fishermen are buying fishing licenses. So in a sense, I don't think they want to cut their own throat, but they may not even see far enough ahead to realize, that it's fishing licenses are a good source of revenue, and but you got to be able to fish, to sell one.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, one other thing that we wanted to talk about was you're using the boat as not only a resource for the community, for conservation and all that stuff, but also as a resource for excuse me, for the science portion. Tell us a little bit about what your objectives are as far as trying to get more I guess scientists or more personnel on the boat and to use the boat as a resource for their projects.
Right. So again, it's kind of doing things bass backwards, but I'm good at that. We kind of came to the back door, and at Scripps, for example, and I went to some grad students and said, look, if you guys are ever out of money, or you're running out of funding, and you need a platform, and you need to go dive, or you need to deploy something, we'll gladly make the boat available to you. And that's kind of that was kind of how we started. But now I've got these organizations now reaching out to us, and besides the science, it's interesting, just the way things are in California. But you kind of got to go where you're needed, I guess, is what I'm going to say. But we've done more for education, really, than science. And it does relate to science, because we've had a lot of students on the boat, students that were going to universities from around the world come to San Diego every year, and we get them on the boat and show them, look, here's some of the application of the science. Here's what you might do if you were outside working on the boat. And we'll put them on the deck of the boat, and they maybe have never been on a boat in their life, and they're studying to be marine biologists, So we're trying to be there for them for that. And then we have another group of kids, which I've met these same kids at the Marlin Club, and we've helped them there before. But there's a lot of kids in San Diego who don't have fathers, that are, sit at home and really have no one to look up to or to help them. Lower income, bad parts of town, and we've been actually asked by some of these organizations at Scripps, these universities, these institutions, to get the kids out on the boat and show them that there's jobs available outside, that they could work for the port, that they could, work for Spa War, that they could work for any of the tugboat on the bay. But a lot of these kids sit at home and are, just on their phone, don't have access, live on San Diego Bay and have never been on the bay. So right now, that's kind of what they're looking at us for, is to show these kids that they don't have to go to a 4-year university, that they could find other work, find other things to do here, more skills based, and working outside, being a park ranger. So that's, interestingly enough, that's kind of what the science twist for us has been. It's gone from trying to help science, and we still are doing that. We're still like, hey, you guys want to go diving? We'll take you diving. Okay, great. So we still have that window at Scripps to do that opportunity to help any grad students or somebody that might need help or need the boat platform for science. But as far as the institutions and the work we're doing with them, they want us to help educate the kids that there's work, outside. They could work on the deck of a boat. They could work around the bay, and find a trade that they like. So I kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's kind
Well,
of
I
what
mean,
so I was at an alternative school, so I can't really, say, oh no, I don't want to get involved in that. I just want to do, science on the water. And they're like, we'd really like it if you take these kids out and help show them. And we've got the Sequan Indians and a lot of other people that are helping support these kids. And so we're working now trying to fit into a grant with Scripps and take these kids out on the boat and show them, get them out to even if we get out to the Whistler, there's 50 kids. So keep in mind, I'm several trips to get it done, but they've got handlers, they've got a lot of people. And it's something these kids have no idea of, so I'm just kind of trying to polish, some of the things I learned back when I was in school, some of the speeches and the way some of the leaders talk to the boat builders. And we worked a lot with Outward Bound on the East Coast, and kids solo, and they do a lot of things, character building exercises. And so I think it's going to be some more of that this year for us, all around coordinating with the start of school in October.
Wow.
I mean, that alone, I think, is so crucial to have, the program that you're talking about on your boat, and just programs in general. I so firmly believe there's no better way to show people and to protect what you love than to bring people out and introduce them to being not just on a boat, but, to take them out in the water and experience or at least give them a taste of the love that so many of us have for the ocean. And it may not be all about fishing, it could just be getting out there, but just protect what you love just goes so far. There's so much more than just reading it from a book. And I experienced that, while I was at Long Beach State. And Jake, you had mentioned, a lot of the kids that wanted to go and be marine biologists, but have never stepped on the deck of the boat. And for me, I totally saw that. I experienced that firsthand when I was at Long Beach State. There's me and myself and 20 other individuals that wanted to be a marine biology major, but we all go out on a trawling trip, and half the boat was seasick. And then the kids that were there were appalled that we were bringing fish up. We were,
How dare we?
and it's like, well, there's no better way than to learn than to experience it firsthand.
You have to study something, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, it's true. And again, it's some of the old guys I learned from, told me it's about being exposed to an opportunity, and that's kind of it. Even if you take 50 kids out and 49 of them never have an interest, if one kid goes, what, I had fun on that boat and I got to see that seal on the buoy over there. I really think I'm going to pursue this, right? It may just get one person interested in the outside and again, for us fishermen, it just paints us in a better light. And I think more people really are like this anyway. I think we all help each other as much as we can, and I think a lot of times that gets lost, but um, hopefully there'll be just more of these kinds of things, and other boats and other people can get involved. Because we can't do, at some point we won't be able to do it all. Hopefully there'll be more than we can handle, and we can get other people involved. And again, the charities that we're working with, I think it's a really good combo. It kind of involves a little bit of everything: education, um, science, and government. So it's kind of a triad of everything that you need to kind of protect, the ocean, and protect our rights to fish. So yeah, we're excited, and can't wait really to get up there this year and see what we've got going, see what we can get done up there this year.
Yeah. Well, speaking of charity, I know we have a very unique opportunity that's still up for grabs in our star tournament. Basically, if you, and obviously this is a perfect tie in with the RV Pilar, if you turn in a white sea bass head and if you're participating in our 2024 star tournament, you're going to be entered to win to go out for a full day trip on the RV Pilar with Jake and your crew. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, again, it's going to be awesome, and we don't charter. I take some friends out. We take certain people out, but so it's going to be a special thing for sure. Hopefully there's again, hopefully the tuna are close, and maybe we get a chance to get out there and catch a big one.
Mhm.
But yeah, whatever's around, we'll make a great day of it, and we're excited about it. And I love the whole sea bass thing, the whole thing with hubs. It's just again kind of an amazing thing. It's funny growing up there. I never really knew what went on back in there. It was all kind of hidden back in there, and we knew it was hubs, and it was Atlantis restaurant for a long time. The front part there, and you could go eat dinner and take a ride on the Skyfari over, to SeaWorld. You couldn't get off, but you could take the trip. So it was kind of a fancy place. I took cotillion classes when I was a kid there. And those
No
rooms,
kidding.
I went in and I saw Wayne talking there. I was like, wow, these rooms haven't changed a bit. They're exactly the same. But I remembered it, and seeing what they've done with the sea bass over the last 30 years, and all the naysayers and whatnot. And now after all the data has been collected, and over such a long period of time, justifying the work that's been done. And it's just so cool to see that happen. And so many people that said you can't do this, it won't make a difference. And again, I talked about the La Jolla guys that were all inshore gillnet fishing when I was a kid. It was a common thing. There were several of them right in front of my house, and I knew a lot of the guys that were putting the nets out, and they whacked the white sea bass. They were probably responsible for a lot decimating the population. The inshore gillnets were pretty hard on them up and down the state, but to see the way those sea bass have come back, and that augmenting the stock did help, and now they have the proof, and it's just so great. I think it's really newsworthy. I think it's something that should probably get more attention, and I'm hoping we can bring a little more attention to that, because it's been such a great success, and it's something they should do in other places in the world, I believe.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And I think there's going to be much bigger and better things to come with that program too. We've talked about they're going to be doing a pilot program this year for fin clips for the sea bass. So that'll be super exciting. And man, if we can get towards fin clips rather than sea bass heads, that is logistically so much better. Speaking as the person who's almost having to go collect all those sea bass heads periodically, it's much better.
Yeah, that has kind of always been kind of one of the issues, is it's a little bit difficult, and then everybody wants the stones and stuff. But
Yeah.
I think it's been, like I said, it's been a pretty good program, and again, getting involved with hubs and being able to go see it and go to the hatchery. I really think that's something everybody, if they get the opportunity to do it, go do it. It's really interesting. And I don't think most people even know that's going on,
Yeah.
and has gone on for 30 years. That's just an amazing thing. But yeah, every time I see sea bass, I'm thinking, I want to bet you that one has a tag in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before we let you go, Jake, I know there's been a huge, I mean, I'll call it a channel, but your brand, the RV Pilar, has done so many good things, but also really enticing content wise with all your social media. You're coming out with new, I guess, short term or short form videos and shorts and all that good stuff. And you're constantly up in the feeds, which is great. So kudos to you guys. But I'm guessing content for you pretty important.
It is. I mean, I'm an old geezer. I have to learn all this stuff. Fortunately I have Peter, to help me, but navigate through. But it's interesting. You reach a certain point, and a lot of these platforms will tell you, what you need to be successful. They'll kind of prompt you, and so for us, it's just trying to create more and more content and interesting content and something that's a little bit different, again, not just straight something for fishermen, but something that somebody else that may not like fishing still would watch. So Peter has really been key to the content, and again, not getting somebody from this industry, put a new light on it. And I brought Peter into the Marlin Club when we were trying to, upgrade the club and get a website and whatnot. And Peter was instrumental in getting the club set up on social, and they have a much better social presence now than they used to. So I've got to say hats off to Peter. And Peter, what do you have to say?
Yeah, thank you so much. No, yeah, really.
Step up to the mic. Come on.
No, yeah, it's definitely been a fun journey. I mean, yeah, I'm not a fisherman per se, but I grew up in La Jolla as well. My family has been, we started Harry's Coffee Shop in La Jolla in 1960. So just being in La Jolla and the ocean has always been super important to me, and just participating in it. My background is art for the most part. I got into marketing and website building and designing and all that a little later in my life. But yeah, it's all been focused around art, but surfing has been such a huge part of my life. And I grew up, my uncle was a big fisherman, so he brought us on the water a lot. So I was knowledgeable about the fishing community and fishing and all of that, but it's not my forte. But I love eating fish. I love being on the water.
He gets around the deck. He gets around the deck pretty good. He's been on a boat before, so that's helpful. Especially when you got a camera in your hand. It helps to be able to walk fast and have good balance. That's for sure. He surfs a lot.
No, it definitely helps being on the Pilar and being able to have a little bit of balance and kind of seeing. I think, I don't know, just understanding where the action is and where to be and not being everybody's way is part of the challenge for sure. But yeah, it's super fun. I got into drone flying, what was it, like 5 or 6 years ago, and it's just been super fun. It's all kind of been evolving, but yeah, as far as content goes, just really keeping it authentic is the goal. Just I feel like people connect with authenticity more so than anything else, because there's so much fake information and stuff out there that I feel like when you get somebody who's real and authentic and passionate about what they're doing, it's a little easier message to digest. And yeah, just keeping it fun and informative and short is really the goal of what we're trying to do. I think, yeah, just some content can be hard to digest, and especially if it's too informative or too sciencey. And I think just trying to simplify it to a broader audience is why we've been so successful on social. And yeah, really just trying to keep plugging away, and it's always evolving and changing, and different things are popping up, and it's really just keeping up with the flow and stay relevant.
Yep, for sure. Well, definitely a great job content-wise, Peter. One last important question before you guys go. Have you guys, with us being in March, have you guys filled out your March Madness brackets yet?
I think I'm already out. So
I'm still in it. Yeah, I finished it a couple of days ago, and my girlfriend set up a group with the rest of both of our families, and I'm thinking I'm in 4th out of 9. So hopefully it keeps chugging away.
Hey, that's respectable. That's respectable. I saw like after like the first couple upsets, there were like 2 point something% is still have a bracket intact or something of the country. So we're hanging on by a thread, but nice work there. But guys, thank you guys so much for joining us on the podcast here. Before we let you go, how do we get in contact with you? How do we follow the RV Pilar, all the socials and all that good stuff?
Go ahead, Peter.
All right. So yeah, our website is rvpilar.org. Our social media is rvpilar_, and we're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Yeah, we're all over the place.
Awesome. Well, guys, again, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. This was awesome. Fantastic episode.
Thank you so much.
Guys, I appreciate it.
Yep. Tony, what'd you think?
These guys are awesome. These guys are quintessential watermen, from conservation to promoting angling access to taking trash out of the ocean. I mean, this is a good model for many of us as people on the water in general to kind of look at and maybe change some of our habits and to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff that we can go into that we didn't, but it means we have to have you guys back on, Jake. Hopefully, when you're up north here, that'd be cool.
Absolutely.
Well, awesome. We can do a podcast on the back deck.
I was going to say,
there you go.
We should make a visit down the RV Pilar.
Absolutely, you guys deserve it for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Thank you guys again, Tony. Another fascinating episode. Appreciate all of you guys being here. And we will see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tony.